forgiveness, it's very remarkable to me that your report finds that so many people, despite not having seen accountability, not having received any form of compensation, choose to forgive their perpetrators. You also mentioned that this is very little understood in the international community. So would you say it's a Ugandan phenomenon, this prevalence of forgiveness?
We don't think. We think forgiveness is a very human act, and one that the persons who exercise forgiveness come to that point very consciously. We were also surprised by the findings of our report on how widely the communities believe that forgiveness is such an important asset for peace building. What prompted us to conduct this research was one, the fact that forgiveness is really rarely spoken about in international justice discussions, unlike the prosecutions and other punitive measures that are talked about. But we also realize that in a situation like Uganda, where these other processes are actually not taking off, we have seen prosecutions at the International Crimes Division halted. We've seen the ICC struggle for over 10 years to even lay a hand on a suspect. But we knew that there were about 27,000 ex-combatants who had gotten amnesty, and you wouldn't identify them if you just walk around town. You couldn't find any camp where they said these are the people who came back from the bush and they're here. No. In fact, you need to really ask very conscious questions for you to know that somebody was ever a member of the LRA, except for some very senior commanders who were returned and out of their own guilt were fearing to go back to their own villages. So there should have been something at play, because historically we know that this country, Uganda, has gone through a lot of turbulence, atrocities that were committed along ethnic, political, religious lines. But we don't see religious wars. We don't see open ethnic clashes. So what was that? Were there reparations? Were there reconciliations? Were there forgiveness? Were there revenge killings taking place around the country? If not, how are these communities living side by side? So when we conducted this research, we found that there are a number of reasons why victims practice forgiveness. One, majority cited their religious belief, said it is godly to forgive. We are all sinners, and the Bible tells us to forgive 77 times, 77 times, if that is what it takes. So many of the people who we interviewed say they forgive because of their religious affiliation. The second reason why they say they forgive is because of their cultural practices. So again, forgiveness is deeply ingrained in our culture. In Uganda, if someone asks you to forgive them, you are expected to offer that forgiveness.
Acholi elders argue that unlike the formal justice system that alienates the offender, Mata Oput system closes this chapter of hatred and compensates the victims. The process that leads up to taking of Mata Oput, or drinking of bitter solution from the roots of the Oput tree, is carefully handled, allowing the offenders to get back to their senses so that they can admit guilt during a hearing by chiefs and elders. The unique contribution of the Rot is through their mediation of the reconciliation process. Mata Oput, which many actually believe can bring true healing in a way that a formal justice system cannot. This ceremony of clan and family-centered reconciliation incorporates the acknowledgement of wrongdoing, the offering of compensation by the offender, and then culminates in the sharing of a drink.
The third one is psychological. A lot of the participants cited in the report observed that not to forgive is like carrying a perpetual burden. That if you forgive, an active process of letting go and restoring relationship, you get a big relief. So many of them are forgiven without even expressing to the perpetrators. There are also those who do not know who their perpetrators are, but they just let go. They say, we just say, whatever that person is, let him go. I let you go. I don't seek to revenge. I don't seek to do unto you what you did to me. That is a very active process that goes on in the hearts and minds of the victims who forgive, with the hope that if they do that, they will get some form of relief. And the other one is also when they feel that their suffering has been acknowledged, sometimes by the perpetrator who comes and asks for forgiveness, but many times they think by the community who sympathize with their plight, and whether reparations have been paid by the government, which has not been the case, whether an NGO or other development partners have recognized that particular suffering in terms of projects, then they feel they are obliged to let go. But I think the other factors that they also mention is that majority of people or the perpetrators who committed these atrocities did not do that on their own volition. And in the case of the LRA, they say, look, we never had the LRA run an adverts for recruitment in northern Uganda, not even one day. There was no recruitment center, so the bulk of the forces of the LRA were forcefully abducted. And by the way, for these victims, the responsibility for the crimes that were committed doesn't lay with the LRA abductees. It lays with the government that failed to protect their children